Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into the Silver Spook podcast. I'm very excited and I'm getting my Cyberpunk Jones fixed today with James Spanos, the ultimate Cyberpunk and synthwave programming #1 Ichiban master of the universe. uh, James Spanos, is it Spanos?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. To be fair, I've been watching a couple of these. They are really interesting, and hopefully this one is also interesting to anyone.
Primordia was the first of the recent point and clicks I've ever played. This is the one that inspired me to even try using Adventure Game Studio because it's like one of my favorite. Like Primordia and Techno Babylon are they're basically my two favorite point and click adventure games. And Primordia, like I don't know, it's I mean I love the art style. I mean I love the story. I mean obviously it's post apocalyptic, and it has cyberpunk aspect. Obviously there's robots.
Yes.
Sentient robots are the main characters, and so I mean I don't know. Maybe talk a little about like when you look back on Primordia, what do you think about it? You're like that was so awesome, or what do you think like oh my god that's like that was so hard, or what do you think about Primordia?
I think, and I'm glad that I thought. Well, I'm not glad that I thought that. I'm glad I was wrong. Is when I played the first alpha of Primordia, I was like, this is not good. I thought this was awful. And I started to work on it, and the idea was that I would work on it like if needed, and that kept coming back and forth, like we need you more on this, like we're working on this section, and then I ended up going full programming on it. I think Primordia was really well fleshed out as a concept. The fact that robots are taking over the world and have taken over the world, and you're wondering if where this is taking place in. And the fact that I like about Primordia is that whatever it reveals, it doesn't do in a stupid fashion, like like cue very spooky music, cue very important music because something is about to happen. It basically like ignores everything that's around it, because the protagonists are.
Right.
And whatever like reveal you see, you're like sitting on your computer like, oh, did I just read that, or did this just happen? And I think that's part of its success. I mean, minus the if you don't take into account the programming and the effort put into the art and all that, and the story obviously. And there's a Brazil reference actually.
Oh yeah, which one?
Yeah, there is one with remember the scene in Brazil where the plumbers come in, and he says, "Do you have this form?"
Oh yeah.
B stroke 6 dash 25. There's a dialogue that says that in Primordium. Crispin actually recites that. I'm very happy because some of the choices that have been very significant from Primordia. I take pride in influencing them very much, and okay. One example is I thought Sarah El Maleh, who is voicing Clarity, I thought she voiced a character in Gemini Rue. She didn't voice that character, but I thought that was her, and I said to Dave, "Can you please cast Sarah for this? Like whoever is doing that for this?" And he said, yeah, and like I was very adamant about her getting a role, and I was aiming for Clarity to begin with, and I'm very glad that happened. And another choice was also the music part.
Yeah, that's
I remember.
great music.
Yeah, I know, because we had the Nathan Allen Pinar, who is a wonderful person, but he was working on Gemini Rue, and he worked on Gemini Rue, and he had projects coming up, and he said that he wasn't able to give his full attention till a certain date, and we decided that it was beneficial for the project to start getting music, and then Dave found us Nathaniel Chambers, who is the writer of the composer for Primordia, which is great because that's a very important part in the soundscape in Primordia is a huge factor of it. And the third change, I would say, oh, I remember. Okay, you played the game, and I'm gonna say spoilers, so you can skip like 30 seconds ahead. Actually, make it a minute. I might be talking forever. Is that I refused to, when I was working on the game, I refused to allow Mark to spoil me the story. So whatever part I was coding, that's the part I knew in the game. So I didn't know ahead of time what was going on, and that actually made the game so much better because I would be on my work much easier because I wanted to code things so I can see how they play. And then one day Mark says, today is gonna be the day you're gonna kill Crispin in code. And I said, Mark, no, I refuse. And I think, and this is the part that I altered, is because of my huge love for Crispin. See where he spins around? That wasn't in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought of that. I came up with that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I thought that would be a way for him to do that. So that wasn't in. But the fact that I love the character so much, is that that was in. And that's about it about Primordia.
Oh, I see. Yeah. That was a great scene. That was another scene. That was like very emotional scene. I think I might have cried during that scene too. It was a very strong character.
I cry on that scene, but I love Crispin too far.
Yeah. Go. Well, I'll stop talking about specifically what happened, so that anybody who's doesn't want to be spoiled now, you can listen again. But yeah, I did not realize that. Yeah, the music. I think sometimes I confuse those two guys because they're the two musicians. The names Why Jedi Composer starts with the N, and I mix those guys up. But yeah, the music on Primordia. I remember. I think when I was working on Newfield, I think I was listening. I was like walking around in the city, listening to the Primordia soundtrack while I was like trying to write stuff for Newfield. I just had the whole soundtrack on loop, and I was just trying to visualize the characters and trying to wrap my mind around like what the game would look like and what the characters would kind of feel like, and like listening to some of the like the Let's Play with the dialogue and the way things worked out. It was like I kind of think of like Primordia and Techno Babylon, where like they're really like blueprints. They were like my personal study guide for how to make sci-fi adventure games, because that's what I wanted to make. And it was a big help because I was not really a huge fan of them like early on, but as I got into them, I really like the concept. I like what you could do with it, and the fact that you could like explore these really deep stories, but not have like 10, 50, 100 people working on it like a lot of times you would. With just 3 guys. I mean, Primordia, right? You could pull this thing off. It's kind of unique, those kind of games, adventure games in particular, which is why I think the one Blade Runner game that was made into a game was an adventure game, because it would be really hard to do that in any other genre of games, I think. So yeah, Primordia was So I mean, yeah, thanks for working on Primordia and making it, because otherwise there would be no Newfield. Thanks a lot for that.
Now we were talking about Newfield before we started recording, and I think it's an interesting subject. Because I said to Chris that I think it draws a lot of vibes from Game of Thrones and District 9 and Body Snatchers. That's how I feel it is. I definitely can see the Game of Thrones vibe to it. The rest could be accidental. I mean, it doesn't take a stretch to think about favelas. That's not something that is hard to think of your own. But I like that about that, and yeah, whenever the game reminded me less of Game of Thrones, I enjoyed it more. It's a personal thing. It's not you. The game is fine. I had no issues with it. I just think that's how I feel as I dislike Game of Thrones. I said it. I never got into it. I tried my hardest, honestly.
I mean, the mostly what I liked about it was where I saw connections between Game of Thrones, and Cyberpunk itself, and as a metaphor for the modern reality, where you have, the level of inequality between the upper class, and
Yeah, the
that kind of stuff.
separation.
Yeah,
No, I know, I get that.
the Cyberpunk thing is my main thing. Actually, was I knew, like, if I just made a Cyberpunk game with new food, I'm probably gonna make it gonna be too cliche for its own good. It's gonna be, just I wanted to kind of do something different. That's kind of why I added in that another level. And as you mentioned, District 9, that was a big influence. I love, Chappie, District 9. The
I
concept
love
of
Chappie too.
yeah.
Chappie was really good.
Yeah, there's characters that are references to that, and the concept of the aliens. What I liked about District 9 was that Neil Blomkamp took the trope of alien invasion and the human race standing up, and just fighting these, the War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
There's so many alien invasion movies, right? But the concept of flipping that whole cliche on the science fiction trope on its head, and just saying, what if the aliens don't invade? What if they're just a bunch of refugees? They get dropped off, and then we have to take care of them. Like, is something that's happening a lot in the planet, and so the found footage and the main. I mean, this is another connection. The main character Newfield is not like just some hard boiled detective cop, although he's technically ex-cop, but his job is actually social worker. The main job in the main character Vicus in District 9 is a alien social worker. He's a social worker to help, quote unquote, help aliens, right? So that's
No, I know, and I like that
yeah.
about District, and it basically shows aliens that came to, come to Earth, and they get they cannot go, back to the planet, and they're being treated as second-class citizens, which is
Yeah.
which is what happens in Newfield. I like that draw part of between the two. And I think that's an interesting concept to explore, because in a movie you can explore it, not that much. In a game you have more, liberty to do things. No, I like that as a concept. I mean, in Until I Have You, which is basically like a tribute to everything I love. And I get the sentiment. Not everybody has to like the things you like in a cyberpunk thing, but there's a lot of there's Ghost in the Shell in it, and there's a lot of Johnny Destiny in it. Not sure
Oh
if
yeah.
you've seen the film with Keanu Reeves, but I grew up that used to be on all the time on
Wait,
TV.
Johnny Mnemonic?
TV. Yeah, Johnny Mnemonic. Yeah.
Oh no,
I
I've
just
seen
said
that like
Johnny
50
Destiny.
times. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I mean, I haven't seen it in like over 15 years, but I remember a lot of it. And I remember the memory part, which is I took from it. And I refuse to watch it because I think it's probably gonna suck now. Because I will not watch it, like, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, this is so cool, and it's one of your first cyberpunk experiences. You're like, oh my god, this is amazing. But I decided to watch no, not Altered States, Strange Days. Oh my god, I mixed those up. They're completely different. Strange Days, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna watch a movie similar, because I did not wanna watch Johnny Mnemonic again.
Oh.
But yeah, and I love Ghost in the Shell too much, and Techno Babylon also draws a lot from it, from Ghost in the Shell. I mean, I'm sure it does.
Oh no, it is. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Ghost in the Shell is a wonderful thing. Um, I love it to the death. I've seen the movies. I've read a couple of the books. Well, they're not books, but and I've seen the series, and they're really good, really well done. The only thing that kind of bothers me with it is that there is always this unprogression on the characters. Like, it hints everything, but it never reveals stuff about the squad itself, the characters. And whenever it's something, it makes up for the great cases that they have. But something I like about it is that is the diversity of the squad, because you have like Togusa, who is like full human on a cyborg squad.
Oh yeah.
uh, and you have Moroko, who is full cyborg, you know. And I like the philosophical part of it a lot. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell definitely. I that would I've watched all of the Ghost in the Shell, including the first one, the second one, the second movie, first gig, second gig, and I think I've watched. I think I watched Arise as well, which is the most recent one, which is the younger. It's almost like a prequel. So I've watched, and my favorite was definitely the standalone complex.
Yeah.
Because it's the most complex. No pun intended, but you know.
I know. Yeah, it's the most actually just, you know, for once you can experience things in a better way. For a Ghost in the Shell, because it's usually just like a hit, and you're like, oh no, I wanted more.
Yeah, then you gotta watch all the reruns and the DVD features, but then that's not enough. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, Ghost in the Shell, like the concept. I mean, on the cyberpunk topic, I mean, like that, I mean, obviously, Ghost in the Shell, you know, it's kind of wrapped up in the not wrapped up in, but the 80s when the cyberpunk was big. I know Shiro Masamune or Masamune Shiro, I can never remember which one is first, but his the creator of the manga, I know he did say like he was a big fan of William Gibson, the godfather of cyberpunk, Neuromancer, and a lot of the themes, right, the body, you know, what does it mean to be human? That's kind of like one of the big cyberpunk themes, right? And having, you know, is it the flesh, the brain, your consciousness? Like, what if you took your mind out and you placed what you thought was your consciousness in another body? Would that make you no longer human? And those kind of concepts, that's kind of stuff that gets explored, and that's definitely influenced. Yeah,
I love the fact that it wonders, you know, whether an emulation of your consciousness equals your consciousness. It basically, you know, it basically shows what happened if we achieved singularity, and you see how everyone like is looking for an answer, which doesn't change from what's, you know, going on around now anyway. We don't have singularity, but I mean, like, you know, people are trying to find themselves anyway. No, I like that about Ghost in the Shell, and God, you said something and I wanted to expand. What was it?
Was it the past of how Ghost in the Shell came to be, or the?
No, it was. Oh, God, I mean, I lost it. I'll probably remember it.
Yeah, we'll probably get back to it. But but yeah, I mean, like, just to tie it into Until I Have You. I mean, as you mentioned, like, I mean, as I always mention, like every single time Cyberpunk, I'm like, that's like I consider myself like I'm technically like I'm native Hawaiian. I'm from Hawaii. But I really, you know, I mentioned this recently. I felt like really I didn't really know who I was because I grew up in a weird kind of non-culture. I grew up. It was like almost like it's kind of like the culture of Blade Runner minus the bad weather, the rain all the time, and the neon. And it's not always nighttime in Hawaii, but a lot of things are really like the city itself. It's like half Asian. 50% of the culture is Asian. A lot of Asian influences. I'm actually part Japanese. It's very impersonal in a lot of senses. In the way that everybody's working all the time. Nobody really knows what they're doing, why they're doing it. They're just slaving away. And a lot of people are they've like internalized. I almost want to call it like the service industry here in where I'm from. It's very much like being a replicant when you're treated like you don't exist. Like you don't have a soul yourself. Like you're not Terrell and rich people that have a lot of money, billionaires, the neo-feudal elite, as I would say, neo-feud. They have souls. They count as people. If you're like, you know, if you're Agent K's human, the LAPD boss, and you have a soul, then you count. But Agent K doesn't count, right? In Blade Runner 2049, he's just a tool. He's something that you use. Like here, you know, if you drive the tour bus or you serve in the luau, or you dance the hula, you wait, you're the stewardess. You are just a servant. You're an object to produce capital, money for the industry. Agent K is there as a replicant to produce, or you know, any of the replicants are there to fight war, to do sexy dance.
The only difference they have is they were created this way. Instead, you are kind of, well, not manipulated, but like, you know, I guess set by social contracts that you have, social constructs that you have no influence upon to do the same.
Yeah, and there's a lot of there's like mass media cultural manipulation, like that kind of all that kind of all the cyberpunk stuff is it all exists.
It's always like what I like about William Gibson. I think he has like the strongest opening line for any book I've ever written. I've ever read. Sorry, I've never written books. The opening line is it says and I remember this. I think it says the color of the port was
the sky above the port.
Yeah. The color of the sky on the port was the same. Was that of static? Yeah.
Yeah, the sky above the. Is that what it says? Is that what it says in Greek? Is it different?
No, I don't remember the line at verbatim. That's why.
The sky above the port was the color of television tuned to a dead channel. I think that's what. Yeah. I haven't remember.
And I just picture like a very gray sky, almost like I don't know. It really like creates the whole scene for just one line with just one line. I also love Akira to the death, which is not exactly cyberpunk, but it has like that. I drew a lot of that because it has a lot of riots and it has gangs and all. And I drew a lot of that in Until I Have You. I love the riot part. Generally, whatever I've worked on the past like 5 years has had this riot thing going on. I like Children of Men a lot, and I think it's very closer to us than we think. Not the inability to be fertile, but the moving of population because of war and like that's happening actually.
Oh yeah, totally,
I mean, because and in Greece where I live, it's like next to the island I live is next to Turkey, so there was a lot of refugee population, going on and forth, and there were people that were taking advantage of it, like saying, we're gonna give you, if you give us like 120 euros, which is like 150 US dollars, you can take a bath and stuff like that. That happens,
man.
Like, I'm not saying that all the Greeks are like that, obviously, but there's always people that are gonna take advantage of situations like that. But whenever I was taking the ship to go to the capital of Greece, Athens, I would just, and I would it would be filled with refugees. I would just think of Children of Men.
Oh yeah.
I think that's closer. That part of Children of Men is very close to us. The fertility, not yet, thank God.
Oh yeah. I had something I was gonna say, but I can't. Yeah, well, I think it's definitely like I like that Until I Have You. Obviously, it's the visual. It's very what do you call it? Ghost in the Shell-ish looking, but I did like the what science fiction there is there, like in. That's what I mean. If it has a lot of talking, obviously, and a lot of text, because I wanted to dig deep into that stuff. But the stuff that I did read, like in the news reports and the like in between the action parts, which are really awesome. I love that as well. I'm a huge Mega Man Strider fan, so that part was awesome. But yeah, the cyberpunk stuff, the visuals are great, and the news reports and the world building stuff. That's some of my favorite stuff. Was I did like that concept, and it kind of came through that that some personal experiences and some things that are happening in the world were being related through the news reports, such as things like the violence that escalates as or the negative, the societal fabric, social fabric breakdown as this massive change to the society happens, either because of immigration, refugees, sudden changes in the economic, people losing their middle class lifestyle, and that in the U.S. that's a big thing, right? So that kind of I like that. That's something that we probably want to talk about. Have you played Valhalla by any chance? But
no.
Oh no, okay. Well, that's another game that was made by.
I've played. No. You mean Vol? Yeah, I know. I've played Valhalla. Yeah, Hole. Yeah, whatever they say that. VALL. Hole. Yeah, I've played that. I love Valhalla. That's a great game.
Yeah, because I was thinking like that. I mean, it's not. I mean, out of Venezuela. I was looking up. I was like, where did this game come from? But I thought it was from Japan. But it's actually two guys in Venezuela that came up with it, which is also going through kind of like a crazy. I looked into their situation, and they had the crazy hyperinflation, and people were like Bitcoin mining just to fly food in from drones that they had to buy. They had to like order Amazon Prime food into Colombia, and then have to sneak it across the border with drones because you couldn't. You have to. It cost like $10,000 for a loaf of bread. So it was just like crazy and riots. There was riots there and everything. I was like, wow. So the stuff that was happening in VA, like a lot of the stuff was things that were happening on the ground. It was like cyberpunk reality in Venezuela. With Bitcoin mining, it's illegal to Bitcoin mine because the government couldn't get a hold of their economy. So it was just crazy stuff.
Yeah, I love that part about. I think it's a really good game, and I think what it's basically showing an optimistic side to a very you know, an pessimistic world. To be fair, but I like that about Valhalla. I think I really enjoy. I don't enjoy visual novels that much because that's what it basically is. But I really liked it. I bought it in full price, and that's a really great game. I really enjoyed it. The whole writing of it was really good, and I liked how it had that, you know, anime kind of look to it. But yeah, it's a really good game, really good music, and really well thought out. And you know, back to Until I Have You. I'm not gonna bore you with this. Is that the thing I liked a lot about it? I mean, it interested me a lot. Is that, you know, the 80s movies, you would have like this kind of like revengeful guy, like, you know, going into a vigilante kind of mode, like, I'm gonna kill you all and I'm gonna take my revenge back. And I think, you know, with the news and all that, and with the backstory lines of Until I Have You, I think what I'm trying to, in the way the character behaves, like, you know, how he actually chooses to avenge more than rescue. I just wanted to make a very skewed character where he thinks he is the best, and what matters to him is, you know, him being the artist, and that's how he treats himself. He's like, you know, I'm the best at what I do, and, you know, he's more selfish than he, you know, and basically he is selfish. He's an asshole. He's an egotistic maniac. And, you know, that's not very apparent at first, but with the newsline and the dialogues between every boss and all that, I think my favorite boss out of all the game, and I'm gonna stop with Until I Have You, is the boss where he's like the ninth boss, where he's like living in a junkyard, and he's using all the junks, you know, all the junk piles to enhance himself. That was very based on. Have you ever seen Tetsuo's Iron Man?
Oh yeah. The old Japanese
yeah.
Live
That is derived from that strictly, because I love that concept, and that's what it is. It's basically a man deforming himself for the sake of you know, evolving or attempting to evolve.
Right, that was there's a lot of references. I mean, I picked up on a lot of. I don't know if I picked up on everyone, but I know I recognize that the Ichi character.
Yes.
Have you? I don't know. I'm not sure exactly which one. That's one in Japanese. But are you a fan of a certain Japanese live action movie, and it's Ichi the Killer? You know that film?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, it is that then. Okay, yeah, no.
Yes, but I decided not to go, you know, full sadistic, because Ichi the Killer is like more into sadism, if anything.
Yeah.
I just felt like Ichi would be, you know, the childish manner of it, like, you know, a cosplayer that you know, has gone into role playing that much, that he would be like, I'm gonna buy this suit and pretend I'm a superhero kind of trope.
Right. Yeah, I thought that part was. I found that entertaining. Like after it's like, you know, if famous cosplayer gets killed,
and you just kill the cosplayer.
What is it? They reported as, oh, the suits must have malfunctioned or something, causing.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, because then that part is the news is basically very, if not directly, it's very inspired by Ghost in the Cell news. Because in Standalone Complex, especially season 2, they would report things in like in the way that things are reported. It would be like this happened, but let's change it a bit so it's not very more appropriate.
Right. Yeah, we can't say there's some egotistical maniac running around killing people in our city. That probably wouldn't fly too well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. And I'd like um since we talked about this, a huge the apartment in the game is like this very ambient space in the game. It's basically like more into making you think than actually play. Um, and that obviously draws a lot from Blade Runner. I mean, it would be a lie if I didn't say so. And that's what I like about Blade Runner, both films, is that the plot progresses slowly. It progresses a bit, and it shows you something. It doesn't say what it shows you, and you're just thinking what that is, and how people are living. And like every scene in Blade Runner movies does that. Like, it shows you like the Coca-Cola ads, and you're creating this world in your head where, everything is commercialized in such a way. And that's what I wanted to do with the apartment until I have you, basically make it very atmospheric in the same way, because I love Blade Runner. I mean, who doesn't?
Yep. Let's do it right now then. What is your because if you listen to any of this podcast, I always ask what is your favorite game, film, movie. But how about okay, so I'm gonna guess we already said Blade Runner is your favorite, so that's Blade Runner is still 12 out of 12. So really, Scott is still the undisputed king of Cyberpunk. But what is your
Yes.
next favorite Cyberpunk after Blade Runner? If that's not
If I had to, okay, I think my favorite Cyberpunk besides Blade Runner, which is what it is. I think I love Brazil too much. It's
Oh,
not
Brazil.
exactly it's not exactly Cyberpunk. Yeah, Terry Gilliam's Brazil. It's more of a mockery to 1984, and Blade Runner. It has that neon light vibe to it. And it's funny, but it's sad. It's like tragic comedy in a sense to me, because it shows a world where where a small error in bureaucracy can have someone killed. And while it portrays that in a very comedic fashion, and you're like laughing, the situation is like um very very sad
Oh yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah, Terry Gilliam, like I'm yeah, really very big fan of all of his films, like including Brazil is one of my favorite. Like there's a reference in Near Future specifically. I think that's the only like like it's the most obvious homage. It's not even really a homage. It's just a reference. It's like I'm like I think the main guy is like he's got all his paperwork everywhere and is like, oh god, it's like I feel like I'm stuck in a Terry Gilliam movie. There's a reference to that scene where he gets wrapped up by his paperwork and the wind blows all the paper all over him and it like
Yeah.
basically strangles him. And then yeah, it was like and and obviously well no, if you the main character is a bureaucrat, like the main character in Brazil, well the whole thing is about the bureaucracy obviously, and you have to have paperwork to fill out your paperwork. And Robert De Niro is the the guy comes in and what is he? He's like the rogue terrorist plumber. He's like, I'm gonna secretly plumb your
yeah.
pipes.
Yeah, he's a rogue plumber. Basically, the bureaucracy is too much that he has to be rogue to be able to just plumb away.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants to do, but he can't do it because of the bureaucracy. No, I love the entirety of Brazil to the death, and I think it's also like it's my favorite movie to begin with. But that's what I like about the movie too much is that you know, minus the jokes, it shows a character, yeah, that you know is like stuck in a loop in his life, and he's, you know, stuck in the same bureaucracy he's working for, and you know, something of value, you know, to him, like, you know, the dream, you know, that he's trying to catch, the woman of his dreams, basically,
Right.
which is it's kind of a metaphor. Is like the moment he tries to approach that, like he's stuck in this web where he cannot like move. He's just trying so much that it actually drives him crazy. And I think, you know, the fact that he actually, you know, goes crazy because of the bureaucracies, we're not very far from that. And I think my favorite joke from the movie is like at the beginning of the film. Um, there's an interview in the TV before it gets blown up, and the guy, the prime minister, is asked, "What do you think about, you know, the fact that you've been fighting terrorists for 10 years? That the terrorists have been fighting you for 10 years?" He says, "Beginner's luck," and he's been fighting them for 10 years. No, it's a funny movie, but also um, very sad at the same time, especially because of what happens to the protagonist, but also, you know, of the fact that we're so close, you know, close-minded sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a like I mean, like the best. You know, I don't want to. Well, you know, a lot of the British dystopian. Well, like you know, there's a long history of that. You know, from 1984 onward of, you know, these kind of dystopian societies, and kind of like sharp criticism. Even I would say all the Monty Python has that. You know, Taylor Gilliam, of course, is a member of the Monty Python
Yeah.
group, and all of that, you know, is criticism of that. You know, hyper bureaucratized, all this paperwork everywhere, all the way up to the, you know, to the present, and so like that. I do like that aspect of it. How it's like a very sharp critique of the existing, you know, political, economic, and especially the paperwork side of it. I mean, I think it's in particular because unlike somewhere like America, well, there's a lot of differences, but one of them is that, you know, a lot of the London and the urban, the city of London, right? That's where all the paperwork is. It kind of dominates a lot of, as I understand it, dominates a lot of the UK because they don't really have like a lot of else there right now. I mean, Britain used to have an empire, right? But now it's mostly just, you know, I mean, a lot of it is paperwork. I mean, it's like financial paperwork, it's bank paperwork, it's some kind of transactions that you're handling. And so I think that, you know, as the people I've talked to who are from the UK, like that, it does kind of boggle down, and they really have, you know, a lot of red tape. You know, I mean, for better lack of a better
Yeah.
word. And so
No.
that,
uh,
yeah. Go
that's
ahead,
a
yeah.
good analogy. No, they have like, you know, the fact that any bureaucratic film actually works today, you know, even today you like you can relate to it. Um, like there's an Asterix movie from the 1980s that has Asterix going to like as he's like doing the oh my God, I cannot find the word. What's the thing that Heracles did in ancient Greece? What's the word
Uh,
for? He
what he
did 10
did?
of them. Yeah, he did
Oh,
10, 10. Yeah,
his great
what's
deeds, or yeah, yeah.
yes, deeds, right. So they have the same concept, like, you know, Asterix and Obelix and their great deeds, whatever the translation to that is. So they one of them is to go and go into a bureaucratic service and get a certain form printed, and that like whoever has been in Greece in a bureaucratic service of that kind, they relate so much to it, and this is a French film, and I think, you know, in the same way this relates to the French, to the British, to everyone that has ever been in any bureaucratic service, because, and this is an old, you know, an old film, so supposedly with computers that should have changed, but you know, the The issue is that they had too much paper. Now they have computers, and we're like, okay, let's use computers for that. And they use computers to print paper again
Yeah, the business. Yeah, yeah. It's
instead of writing it all. So that's silly. It's okay. That's gonna change slowly, slowly. But yeah, I like that about that. I think another interesting film. It's not exactly cyberpunk, but it has like that twist that cyberpunk films have. Is have you seen Perfect Blue?
Perfect Blue. I think maybe I haven't seen that one. Which one? Yeah, I think I've heard of it though. Yeah.
No, it's an anime film. Do you know Paprika?
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay, it's from the same guy. So the first film I saw by him, it was The Day He Died, which I didn't know at the time. And I'm like, I was looking for old anime films at the time. I was looking for Akira, etc., etc. So I watched Akira, and I think it's a masterpiece of how it looks, at least. Um, and I'm looking to see more films, and I watched Perfect Blue. And what Perfect Blue basically is, it's the bodyguard, scenario where there's a stalker and there's a singer. And what happens, this is the interesting part, for Cyberpunk at least, is that it shows a woman who is a singer, and she wants to be an actor, and there are people judging her for doing that because they are very into the avatar side of her. Like, what I mean by that is, like, let's take any actor you like, right? Let's take, I don't know, Brad Pitt, for example. Like, you don't know Brad Pitt. You think you know Brad Pitt from what you read, from what you think, you're basically, the image of you have of Brad Pitt is the image of his avatar, of what he, shows you, like what he shows you in his social media, in his films, in his work, in his interviews, but that's not Brad Pitt. So what it basically, so the film is a thriller. So what it basically has is he has a stalker who is in love with that. He's like, in love with the cute actress type, and the fact that she wants to change that feels like an insult to him. So the movie progresses. I'm not gonna spoil it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
say that it's a very disturbing film, and it's a really good film.
Yeah, I've not seen that one in particular. Although I do know that cyberpunk scenario has come up at least in, well, the William Gibson, because that's one I've read every William Gibson book and met my wife when I met William Gibson, and I'm a big Gibson fan. But one of his big scenarios was the Idoru was the one where he explored that kind of, I think, that concept of, the idea of celebrity, as I think he called it in one of the later books, the tulpa, which is a word that basically means this, the platonic idea of any individual character or some. It's like a non-existent celebrity persona,
Yes.
which doesn't really reflect any individual character, but often it's not even constructed by the celebrity themselves, but by some calculating PR team of people who sit around
Yeah.
and
No,
dream
no.
up the perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens to Perfect Blue. That's the concept it explores, because yeah, you construct a thing and that's not even close to the actual person, and it shows how much an actual person is struggling with that, and how much it affects their lives. The fact that they, whenever they move away from that, they're being judged. It's a really interesting film. If you give it a shot, I think you'll enjoy it. I really do. It used to be my favorite film. Then I found Brazil, but
Um,
but yeah, that's a really good film, and I like that concept a lot. Um, what also I find, since we're in the bureaucratic thing, I find fantastically fascinating as a concept, is there's a movie called The Exterminating Angel, El Ángel Exterminador, that's the actual title. Which basically the concept is this: it shows a bunch of people that are sitting down on they have like a dinner uh, date, I guess.
Uh-huh.
You know, they're not dating each other, but they're like, you know, a lot of people, like, let's say, like, so there are about like 14 of them. And the concept is, what if people were stuck in that kind of dinner because they were too afraid to make it social awkward to leave? Which
Oh,
sounds silly because, you know, but how many times have you been in a situation where you, like, you know, refrained from saying something, or, you know, asking something because you felt it was too stupid, or, you know, you were like trying in your head to figure out what's going on. And it basically shows a bunch of people that none of them wants to be there, but they're there because the social, you know, constructs around them are forcing them to be. Which is
right.
it's not exactly, it's not cyberpunk by any means, but you know, it's a concept. And cyberpunk is a lot about concepts anyway.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh, it does a lot. I mean, this is when I had this debate with somebody recently about, society, or science fiction. Some I forgot what it was, but it was in particular like what is cyberpunk, or like something I wanted to do with the story, and I like to deal with the actual not necessarily, oh, just look at this cool new iPad, or look at this like spacecraft, or this particular flying something, or wormhole technology that we have. Isn't that cool? Isn't that great? Buy one now for $9.99, pre-order on Steam, and get your brand new iGadget, right? But that's one part. But the cyberpunk, to me, like that is not. I mean, that's part of cyberpunk and the marketing. But the way in which the technology and all of these changes impact the society, and what people do with it, like the second order things of how it changes social relationships, and like what you just said about how people have this thing where we have to, the social contract is like, yeah, when you're at a dinner you don't leave unless there's you have to have a we all have to stay for this amount of time, and how how even like they say like the culture of London changed when the cell phone hit. Like everybody used to be reading or not talking to anybody for long periods of time when you're on a train in London. That was just a culture. And then when the cell phone hit, all of a sudden there was no quiet time. There was no like internal like reflection, because everybody was on their cell phone or on their Bluetooth, and it totally changed the entire culture. Just with this introduction of this one technology. Of course, now with modern technology, Facebook and Twitter and social media, all this stuff is totally affecting how people are. And I think that's, I mean, to me, that's like one of the core things of Cyberpunk. Like that's like what I really like. That's one of my favorite parts to explore, is that kind of stuff that which is hard to do in an action movie in 90 minutes, because you got to get people in the seats, you got to have explosions, somebody has to have maybe some sex, or something cute, or something funny, somebody who looks good. Brad Pitt's got to show up and then blow up the plane and then get out of there, so everybody can eat their popcorn and then go home and eat dinner, or watch Game of Thrones or Blade Runner. I don't know. It's just like it's a popcorn movie, and then it's hard to really get to the deeper level of what does it really mean to have things, people, sentient persons that are not persons, or what does it really mean to change what it means to what does it really mean to upload things into consciousness into computers? What does that actually, how would that actually impact society? So I think that yeah, anyways, I'm not more sure where I'm going with that, but I think that's where I think like a cyber. That's why I wanted to have more text. I wanted to have a little bit more. Some people complain, oh, why is there so much, information in this near feed? I don't want to think about stuff. I'm like, well, sorry, go play. I don't know, go watch. I don't know, something else. I mean, I like to chill out and just play games and not think, but I also like like Brazil, any Gibson book. These are all like you can't go into those and like not expect to
Yeah,
think a little bit, right?
they force you to. That's what they do. Like I also think like any movie that makes you, any movie or any book, any game that makes you think is a good thing. Like I think Cyberpunk is not like the main hero being stuck in a dystopian world and he just finds the exit. I mean that happens. A lot of classical cyberpunk have that, but I like the fact that usually they just get away with small victories, like very small, very minor, and it's not even exactly a victory. Um, like Blade Runner is a good example of that. Um, I like the fact that, they don't always like, win everything, and two they win, here they go. Happy ending, let's go home, he escaped. Or like, you know, I think what Cyberpunk is, and I mean what it for me what it is, it's like it's a victory, but the victory has a cost, and the way it depends how you see it. Like in a good example is the Brazil ending. You can see it like, he's happy now, or you can be like, what they've done to him. It's really depending on the view, or like, Deckard in Blade Runner, well, not the movie at least. Is he actually winning? I mean, he got away. He's gonna be hunted. But he got the woman he was in love with. So it really depends how you see things.
Yeah,
And,
Blade Runner. Yeah, what? Yeah.
yeah, and they always have like this social part of it, which I really enjoy. Like Ghost in the Shell does a lot on the second season of Standalone Complex. And I think the first season is actually amazing, the way the reveal of the series is coming up, because you're like wondering what the fuck is a Standalone Complex. It just, yeah, and this is fantastic. It shows like how a riot, an expression of riot, and you know discomfort and injustice gets commercialized and gets copycatted and gets, it's like in the same way that this happened actually to very recent years, the V for Vendetta thing, which is a movie about, rebellion, and then everyone just sold masks away. Or let's not just take that example. Let's go, not like the most common thing is like, how many people have you seen in a club or like in other social, things, wearing the Che Guevara shirt?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, and there are people that wear this, and they they have read things about rebellion, communism, and all that, but there are people that just wear it because it's a symbol. And that's what happens for Laughing Man. He makes he makes a point in his own way, but and he becomes a sort of terrorist. But what happens is they basically take that and they turn it into a commercialized thing. They make hats, and everyone is like, oh, I like Laughing Man. Laughing Man is the best. I'm gonna go copy him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, like that. I mean, that kind of concept. I've talked a little bit about that, and I think it is a big thing in just in as that part of Cyberpunk. I think that it can really, when it gets really good, it can nail that aspect of movements, populist, rise of punk movement. There's been so many movements, and the way in which the society, or the elites have gotten good at commodifying, co-opting, as Jeff Goldblum would say, putting it on the plastic lunchbox and selling it, and you're selling it, like in Jurassic Park, turning any particular movement, divorcing it from its original intent, and then making it into a product that makes dollars. And I think like that is one thing. I said this before, but I think I was a little worried that Cyberpunk itself, right, which is I mean, the origin, right, is it's a literary concept. It was a rebellion, against going along with the punk movement, which was anti-authoritarian, anti-Reaganomics, anti-all of these, anti-Reaganomics in the United States, which means Margaret Thatcher, which basically says that there's no such thing as society. There's only dollars. And if you don't make dollars, if you don't make money for us, then you're worthless. And we give money to the rich people, and it's going to trickle down. And if you're poor, it's your fault. And Cyberpunk and punk itself was like, no, screw you, man. And that punk music was about causing ruckus and starting riots, and anti the jackboot thugs, right? And then and eventually, then you had the people in charge were like, oh my god, what is this? All these kids, they're gonna start a revolution. Well, let's make a bunch of mall punk and like turn it into being about getting a girlfriend, and just have kids like listen to it in malls and buy lots of punk T-shirts and Hot Topic, and let's basically, and then it kind of calmed down as things got a little bit better. But and I think that the thing I'm worried about now is like a Cyberpunk was really also, it's anti giant corporations, it's anti, super rich and people abusing the technology, and it's about the the hackers who are trying to take down the mega corporations, to take down the bank, and like now, right, we're gonna Blade Runner did not amazingly well, but now we're having Altered Carbon, we're having Snow Crash, we're having what is the other one that's coming out? Ready Player One. We're having all the Cyberpunk, right? It's gonna start coming out, and I guess it's inevitable in a certain sense, right? That corporations are gonna figure out a way to make a lot of money from Cyberpunk and not really remember, like Laughing Man, not really know what erase it from the original, erase the original intent.
Yes, erase the original, keep the copies.
Yeah. So it's
that's what what is and this is Cyberpunk at its best, and I think Cyberpunk is more relevant now than it will ever be, and it always will be relevant in my opinion, because minus the technological misses, where you say this will happen and this doesn't happen technologically, but the social part seems to be very, very upon us, and it's always there. That's not gonna change much, because socially the differences have been very, very minimal. But yeah, that's what I like about Cyberpunk a lot.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Talking about like how modern reality is I wager to say that we're basically living in Cyberpunk. The fashion is not quite as cool as a lot of the Cyberpunk, but the technologies, like the artificial intelligence, the computer, the merging of person and technology. I mean, the amount of cell phones are basically all cyborgs already. The amount of technology that we rely on every day. It may not be. Not everybody has it implanted like neodymium magnets in their fingertips, but a lot of people basically would, they break down. They've done experiments where people like go into withdrawals and like literally like almost like heroin like withdrawals from not having their technology around. And like just an example, what I was talking about before the podcast, we have to actually limit the amount of YouTube that, because I have two kids, they're like they're 3 and 6, and if they there's these artificial intelligence algorithms now that generate not they're videos that are like procedurally generated kid videos that make like Peppa Pig or Spider-Man, or there's all these little cartoons, but a lot of them have these like abusive or like torture. There's like horrible things that are happening in these videos that could be traumatic and just like not appropriate for little kids. But they get like there's millions of these videos that are just pumped out every day by AIs to try to get clickbait and get get some ad revenue from all these videos and maximize the key terms, keyword searches for these words. And they're like meaningless gibberish, but it's just they choose all the perfect words to nail to hack the the YouTube algorithms. And we have to actually like limit the amount of, because my kids, they're actually getting, one day they started talking about all these weird stuff, like Dad, like she's saying all these bad words and like saying like I don't know, just some disturbing things, and like, hey, I want to play a practical joke on you, Dad, and like, what if I pushed you off of this? And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then we're like, looked at like, what was she watching? She's watching all these like messed up videos of like Spider-Man is like torturing Princess Toadstool, and like freaking Peppa Pig like drilling in the just really gross stuff, like it's on the surface it looks funny, but if you really look at it, it's actually like abuse, and the kids are like crying, the kids in the videos are crying, and I was just like, you know what, like we have to like limit this YouTube, this is and kids get addicted to it, and it's just like, it's like digital. I think of it, a lot of these internet companies, in the way that a lot of people, not everybody, I mean a lot of the things happening on the internet is a lot of it's like digital heroin, getting addicted to really nasty stuff that is like actually can harm you. And so we have they only have YouTube, and we have to really monitor what they watch, and it's only from only when I'm podcasting and live streaming, because and like that's like Cyberpunk reality. I mean, that's something that was dreamed about in Cyberpunk. Like Johnny Mnemonic, right, was the information overload was this disease, right, that destroys your nervous system. And I feel like we're not necessarily at that point of where it's literally destroying nervous systems, but it is destroying your neurons and affecting people's lives, So I mean, I don't know, that's just kind of.
No, I think it's more like what Vonnegut said about Fahrenheit 451. he said when he was asked, you know, do you think in the future we're gonna burn books? And he said, no, people are just not gonna read them. And
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's what's going on. It's like, you know, education is getting less and less, even though it's getting more, accessible. I think, or I'd like to think, it's getting less and less valuable, and you know that's what's going on. It's like people need to educate themselves. They don't have to, like, go into Illuminati confirmed kind of things, but they no they just um they just need to, well, that's a hard topic, but they just need to get educated and be nicer to people. And I'm very against censorship in any way, no matter what the thing is. You can punish, like, because if you censor something, you refuse the right to form the opinion. Like, think of the most vulgar thing you can think of, right? Something despicable. If that is not accessible to you, then that means you cannot create the opinion to judge it as such. It's done for you. When someone in TV says fuck or any curse word and it's censored, then you don't have the, you don't have the, you find that funny. You find that, sometimes in movies you find that funny, or in songs, but you don't have you're not forming the opinion of saying, oh, he said fuck, that I didn't like that, or, he said other words. It doesn't matter. You miss the opportunity to form your own opinion on that. A good example is, like, violent games. Like, you don't have to censor Grand Theft Auto or any other game that is, violent. You just have to, disabling it from being available to you is not gonna, you know, fix the issue. The issue should be, I have no issues with Grand Theft Auto, but I'm just saying that it should be the issue where, where the parent says, I bought this game for my kid, I played it, I think it's very violent for my kid at this age. If, if he's below 10, I would say, or he doesn't, or if you think your child cannot comprehend the difference between, this is a game and this is real life. And I think games as a medium is gonna have a very big uprising as anything, because that was never the case 20 years ago or 10 years ago. But I think video games right now are a great form of entertainment, and you can also use them to make people feel. And I'll explain. There are mindless movies out there, right? Transformers, is a good example. But there are movies that make you think, movies that make you feel, movies that make you cry. And, I remember the first time I played Metal Gear Solid, which is stupid. Not the game. But what I'm about to say is that I got the bad ending where Meryl dies. And I was so attached to the character that I cried. And the fact that a video game can do that to you, and I've also cried on Valhalla, actually. Then these are the two occasions of games I've actually cried to something, and the fact that they can do that to me, it's a great thing that they can cause that emotions, because I've only been crying to movies, and I think the more we get into progressing the medium and making games that can touch people in certain ways, whether they make them like when you kill something in a game, it's like you're expressing the need to let your anger out, and you feel good about that. It's not like you want to go outside and kill people. you know, the more we get into that, the more we, as a society, the more we, you know, express our feelings. And you know, in movies you cannot, you know, you cannot affect them, but video games you can. And I think it's a great medium for that. The fact that you can experience firsthand the sentiments and the feelings of something.
Yeah, like I definitely I agree that I think that games have more potential to be more than what they are often thought of as, which is just entertainment things for kids. And I do like hope that, I mean, this is kind of like, I mean, this is one thing. Like, I knew I was gonna take flack, you know, for you know, it was gonna be a divisive, not necessarily divisive, but there's some people who are gonna love or hate the game I made, Near Feud. And there's been comments. I mean, some people have said kind of what you said. Like, there's particular scenes in Near Feud that were pretty difficult. One, I think it was Steam Shovel. One of the reviewers said like they had to, you know, it caused, yeah, their stomach was like, they almost felt like throwing up. They were like shaking, and some people were crying. They had to leave the game for a little while during a particular scene where your main character is in a position where they can basically destroy a family, tear a family apart, and difficult things happen in it. Difficult things to watch, and you are in the, you are an agent in the situation where you are the person who is destroying, you know, parents and the children's relationship, and you and the things that people say, like they're like some people are just like, actually, well, the good thing was nobody just said this game sucks because I don't want to see that. You know, everybody was like, this was really hard to watch. I could almost not stomach it. It was so on the nose, like it was so painful, and I had to stop playing for a little while. But everybody, at least they said that after a while, they said, but I want to keep going because I want to see what happens to the people in the game, to see what happens to the characters. And so like that was rewarding for me, because I was like, you know, at least that
Yeah,
worked.
no.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter if a scene is difficult to stomach, you know. There are movies that I really like that have very difficult scenes, like, you know, scenes of rape and such. Not that I like the scenes of rape for what they are. I just, you know, they're a character progression in a means. I guess it's a mean to the movie and to the character, you know, to show the hardships. And you know, and that's a good thing, because you know, in a game you feel like the avatar you're playing. You know, usually you do, unless it's a strategy. But you know, adventure games, first person action games, or you know, any game that you are given an avatar, you feel like, and you explore the world through the avatar. And you know, that makes it harder for you, because you know, it's not a character in a film where you can be, you know, you have the distance. And that's why I think, you know, games can have a bigger impact, because you know, movies, they work like as an you know, escapism kind of way, because you like thinking, oh, this is a good story, you know, I'll watch it, and you know, for a brief moment forget my troubles, and you know, whatever it's troubling you, or if there's anything, or you know, get entertained. But in games you can actually feel, you know, feel the sentiment. And even if you have to like step away from it, I don't think that's a you should be proud of that. I don't think that's a bad thing. The fact that, you know, the scene and the sentiment is strong, that people, you know, are getting you know, overcome by the moment, that's not a bad thing not in my book.
Yeah, so I think, you know, like, I mean, that's just this one aspect where I was like, I debated. I actually was like, I don't know, man. Maybe I shouldn't put this in there, because maybe people will, you know, maybe people will live up to that negative stereotype that gamers are immature, and maybe they won't get it, and they'll just throw it down and give it tons of bad reviews because of that, and that's the end of Near Feud. And thankfully, you know, at least people who play it, you know, like that was, you know, there's other things they didn't like, but and that's fine, you know, but at least it wasn't because of that. And so I'm glad that I'm optimistic. I mean, people say, why you're so pessimistic. You're talking about cyberpunk and dystopia all the time. So don't be such a bummer. Don't be a doomsayer, you know. But it's like I'm actually optimistic. I'm optimistic not about the greater society, but about human people in general, because I do think, and in the game culture, I do think that there is an opportunity for games to, for the average to be brought up, to elevate it to something more like an art, where people think of games more and more. I do think there's more people who are taking games seriously, like writing like papers and like writing critical, like getting their PhD on like studies of like the meanings behind all of the characters and the world, and I don't know, I can't say which specific game, but there people are taking it seriously in the way that people are taking movies seriously. Like people write, there's been so many degrees that have been had just on breaking Blade Runner down into all of its literary and film references and what it means to the culture, how it's impacted society. And I think that games have an opportunity to be elevated to that level. As you said, evoking, making people think critically about their lives and all of the society of the human condition, making people feel things in the way that movies have, and eliciting these like deeper emotions and reactions, and those are there, and the opportunities are there for games and game culture. And I think that that's why I try to promote like there's other games. I mean, obviously, a lot of the people that I have on here on the podcast are people who are creators who are working on games that I think manage that. Definitely all the Wadjet Eye titles can do that. And anyway, so I'm like, yeah, I am optimistic about that. There's still a lot of stigmas, of course, and there's a lot of different types of games. It's such a wide, it's like a game is like a beach. Games are like a beach, right? We both have beaches. We're both in the tropical zone, right? And if you go to a beach, right? Some people just want to sit on the sand and chill out and get a suntan and talk to their friend. Some people want to like get in and have like a serious challenge, surfing some big 30-foot waves, right? That's like, I think of like the hardcore gamers. Like I just want to, some people want to paint the beautiful ocean and the scene, and some people want to build sandcastles. Like little kids just want to build sandcastles. So everybody, comes to the beach. Some people want to go windsurfing. Some people want to catch fish, right? At the beach. Yeah.
And some who go, and this is how Brazil came to be inspired. And I think that's, I'm not even making this up. You've seen the trailer of Brazil. It says it's only a state of mind, and and the whole concept of Brazil came to Terry Gilliam because he went to a beach during November, and there was a guy sitting in it on a chair, and he had the radio playing next to him, and it was like it was winter, and that's how, and Terry Gilliam thought of that guy as if he was like reminiscing of the past, or of a better time of the summer, and that's how he came up with Brazil, and that's how he came up with the thing. It's only a state of mind.
Oh, I did not know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what you I mean, you said it anyway. But yeah, I think it's the same way, and as long as something is well made and with love and effort, it's gonna create something for people to see. Like Undertale is a big thing of that. Like people have said, they loved the ending and they cried and they fell in love with the characters, and I've seen a lot of people post in Dave Gilbert's tweet that when they played the last of the Blackwells, they felt it was hard for them to they realized that they're not gonna see those characters anymore, and that's a good thing, because when you create something with love and attention, then it evokes the feeling that you were aiming for.
Yeah, it's like I definitely a lot of people are deep into the Blackwell, and I have played through it. I mean, obviously it's not, as you said, he's we talked a little bit about how Dave is definitely a New York guy, and yeah, I'm more of a I like New York too. I've been there at least once, and but it's not really exactly my thing. But I did the quality of the writing, and I get everything that the Black Hole series is about. And it is, yeah, it definitely is one of those games and series that, you know, can evoke. I always think of like the stuff that Dave does generally as it's almost like watching prestige TV but with pixel art. You know, it's like watching like,
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good description of it. You know,
yeah.
Dave's muse is definitely the city of New York, and he's been channeling that in all of his games. And you know that's a good thing. It's kind of obvious, you know, for someone to see how, you know, how Dave loves parts of New York or despises parts of New York, or you know, he thinks he sees parts of New York as something different than they are, or you know. And I like that about his games. Um, and you know, like in another take, like the Cat Lady, which is also an AGS game and a game I worked on. Um, you know, Rem Michalski, the guy that worked on it, you know that, you know, there's a section where it's in the hospital. Rem himself was a nurse. He was a nurse.
Oh, he was. Oh,
That's why that part works, because, and you know, the nagging of the nurses and the hardships that they describe and the issues that they have, and all that is well written because it's life, and it derives from his personal experiences. And you know, it is twisted, and it is like, um very very twisted and very altered, but it has that sense of reality that you strive for. And I think the difference between games and movies, and this is why I like games more, is that generally movies that I dislike, and this is most of the movies, is that they leave so little time for for thinking, for letting the feeling sink in, because they have like this obsession of, not all the movies, but blockbuster ones, definitely, not all blockbusters, but you know what I mean. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
they're pacing too fast. Like, they don't let something sink in. They're like, oh, I'm gonna bore the audience, I gotta move faster, I gotta make a joke. And games never do that. They never, like, games, they either flow terribly, like they flow too slow, or they flow great and you're like just playing them and you're like, oh my god, I've been playing this for like 8 hours. I gotta go to bed. They don't have any, there's no chance a game flows fast.
Right, right.
It's impossible for it to flow fast. So it will either flow wrongfully, or it will flow in a very great fashion. And that's why I think games are like much better than movies, because they don't have the need to entertain you, because you're not gonna get bored, because you're handling the main character, and you decide when you want things to be done, or when you wanna, like, you decide what the actions are gonna be and when they're gonna be.
Right, right, yeah. That's a good point about games. Yeah, because as you control the character, you control the pacing, and I mean, like, as I just mentioned, right? If people were like, I gotta stop playing for a little while because this scene in this, and if it was difficult to stomach, then you can do that. If it was a movie, right, they would just be like, oh, next scene, right back into, you can't really, yeah, like. There are scenes like in movies, I think that kind of that's a bad thing that can happen, is you can really ruin a strong scene that would have been stronger, but the movie just has to jump cut to the next thing, and that's like, oh, you just screwed that up. Like,
yes, and that's why I like movies that have the strength to say, we're gonna let this set in for a bit. It doesn't have to set in for hours, it just has to set in. Like, that's what it is. And in the con part of games also are the only medium where if you're not good at it, you're gonna not see the end.
right.
Like, it's like watching a movie and you're like unable to see the ending because you're not good at watching the movie. and and you know that's why sometimes people make those games that people like call walking simulators, because they want to say a story and they find the need to say it through a game, like the vanishing of Ethan Carter, Esther, Gone Home is a good example of that. There are games that they don't have much interaction, they have interaction, but they don't have much gameplay, like you don't need to jump over this or jump over that, or kill those enemies, but they have a way to say a story, and they go, we're gonna be easy so everyone will experience the story if they want, if they want to.
Yeah, that's one thing I was definitely thinking about, was trying to get the I've talked a lot about point-and-click adventure games in particular, but I do think that is one thing that some people are not going to be as good at, or not going to solve all the puzzles, or they may get frustrated. So I did kind of consciously want to think about how to make it so that if you just wanted really to get through the story of of the near future, not make it some challenge, but not incredibly difficult and not so unforgiving, because I'm not the best. I mean, technically it was maybe my second point and click adventure, but I'm not an expert at them, so I didn't really want to go. I mean, it's not quite a visual novel in that sense. Visual novel is really, it's like minimal gameplay. But it is easy enough that you can get through it. And if you get stuck, there's no that's one thing I like about Until I Have You, is if you're not that good at platformers, at least it's not like the old school games where in Mega Man you have like 3 lives and you continue, and if you screw that up, then you're done. And well, if you die within the level, I think
that would be hard. That would be impossible for Until I Have You. I mean, the next thing would be, if you don't beat the game within a period of time, then your windows are getting deleted.
Yeah. But yeah. So that was one thing I liked about the Until. I mean, it has the challenge, so it's like there's difficulty in the scenes, but the difficulty is not made difficult because there's a long span of time. You don't have to redo a long span of the game where it's basically just about acing. Mega Man is kind of about like you have to really ace everything, not almost perfectly, and it took you a long time to get good. So I mean, that's one thing, right? Until I Have You has the difficulty. The difficulty, it scales, and it doesn't. You don't get like I don't know. Some people, I mean, they might say the Mega Man is hard, but it's not. I think actually Until I Have You is harder, as you said, but it's just that the window in which you can fail and then retry is very small. So even if you might die 100 times on the one scene where it's like really fast and you screw up, but it's okay because it's only like 10 seconds of gameplay that you're replaying. It's not like 2 hours of gameplay. So yeah, because let me tell you, I beat all the Mega Mans, and
I know
a lot
those levels are like holy shit.
The Quick Man, that guy's tough.
Man.
But yeah. Anyways, before let's just talk a little bit about like your games. I'm gonna might have to move this to the front. So all the games that you worked on, right? You have Primordia, obviously, Calf Lady, Downfall, Until I Have You, and you said I think Techno Babylon. You did some programming. Was there any others that you?
No, I didn't do much and didn't do anything in Techno Babylon except playing it. No, I didn't do. We're working on well, these are the games. I did the interface programming on Downfall and the Cat Lady, programming entirely the Primordia thing. I'm sure Mark said a couple things about that. I also I think our discussions with Mark, I mean, I like to think so. Mark has never discredited or credited, but I like to think that our talks with me and Mark and the quirky nature of them kind of expanded Crispin, I would say. Crispin, I was a huge I'm a huge fan of his character in Primordia. Yeah, currently we're working on an adventure game with Mark and Victor. I'm not sure if Mark said anything about that, and
yeah, he's mentioned it. Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. Because I didn't see the podcast, I should. He's maybe talking shit about me. Unacceptable. No, he's a wonderful person. I think we both love each other as much as we hate each other sometimes. That's what I think it is. Like, and that goes for every member of the Primordia team. Like, we sometimes get annoyed with each other and disappointed by each other, but I think there's a deep sense of, of respect and love for each other at the same time. I and we're working on something. We're finalizing a trailer. Hopefully, we'll release it. I think the best way to say is like within February. It's not sure what Mark said, so I'm gonna leave it to it's a very quick, no, not quirky, but like I'll say it's a strange game, which is fitting because part of its title is strange. But it's something I'm really happy for, and very excited to keep working on it. Mark is also working on Fallen Gods, it seems, for eternity. He'll probably hate me for this. But yeah, he probably will. But I tried to work on that with him, but it's no, it's not hard, but it's like very difficult for me to work on a game that I didn't start, and I think I kind of disappointed him there. But I didn't have the time to read through lines of code, and like we're talking so much of it, and there's so much of it done. But it's at the point where I'd have to recode it in my head to understand it, because there's like tons of it. But there's good writing in it. Mark is putting a lot of love and effort into that. And well, that's it. And I'm working on composing a lot at this time also.
Oh, I see. No, actually, Mark. I talked to him about Fallen Gods, and I talked to him about the other game. I can't remember. He gave me a name, but it's the one where you're in that kind of crazy circus
Yeah,
world.
that's it.
Yeah, in our podcast, he did talk about some of the things that happen in it. It's kind of more surrealist. I saw he actually sent me some new screenshots that were unreleased. Because we were going to do a second podcast, but he had some personal life intervene. But I liked all the stuff I saw of Fallen Gods. I like the concept. We talked a lot about how we came to that idea, and we talked about the idea for the circus one. But I mean, I'm sure, well, as you mentioned, you said you're not quite. He asked you to work on Fallen Gods, but I know he has a kind of a bigger team for that. It's kind of a RPG. It's not. It's kind of a larger.
It's an RPG, but very, very, very focused on role playing, more than combat. It has combat also, but it's very focused on role playing, and it's like a great description for it, and hopefully Mark will not take this in an insulting way. I don't think it's an insult anyway. I think it's a great compliment. It's like playing Dungeons and Dragons, like playing a session of Dungeons and Dragons on
a
a
tabletop.
video.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, like the only difference is you don't have your friend being the dungeon master. And that's what it is. And I've actually had the liberty of playing it since I was working a bit on it. I think it's really looking up, and it's set in a very wonderful world, and the setting is really interesting, very inspired by Nordic mythology, and well, all I'm gonna say is that Mark has put a lot of effort into this. And a lot of his resources, and Victor is helping him out to finish up some stuff on it. Victor is the artist of Primordia, and yeah, I think it's looking good. And once it's out, I'm gonna spam everyone on Twitter.
Yeah, me too. Fallen Gods. So we're talking about Fallen Gods. That's a game by Wormwood Studios. Mark Yohalam is the guy when we were talking about Mark. For everybody who's not an AGS insider, or you know, that's what we're talking about.
Adventure game insider.
Yeah. This is for the people who, you know, the $20 Patreon people all know. Everyone else is like, what the hell are you talking about, Mark? And Fallen what? But yeah, it's a game. Look for it on Steam. It's gonna be coming out. No release date, but so then you said Cat Lady and Downfall. You worked on the programming for that. Is that like I noticed like they have like lots of like crazy like visual what do you call it? Like parallax and like all these like zooming, scaling, color effects. Did you do that stuff too?
No, that wasn't me. No, I coded the interface for them. Basically, I set up the interface for Rem and the way for that to be expandable. So, you know, the way the inventories handle the save, the load, the movement of the character, you know, and then he would just set up hotspots, set up the rooms on himself. So I know he uses a 3D program, I think 3ds Max. I could be wrong, but I don't know how he did the thing. I think it's definitely a background. It's not like, you know, you just walk into it and it seems like, you know, it's just desaturating from left to right or right to left, and that's why it feels like that. Or like he fades in the desaturated one, but you have to ask him.
Oh, okay.
So I just did the interface, and you know, I'm like, here's your interface, and eventually if you have had any problems, I would be like, okay, change this, change that, and you know, and it's just that. Like, we worked on it for like a month and a half, and then he just went and spent 2 years on it.
Oh, I see.
On his own. And the same thing with Downfall. So yeah, that's what it was for those games. We had talks about them, like, you know, stuff in the script and all that, but it's mostly, you know, him putting the effort and the work. And like, see, when in Cat Lady, at one point you make coffee and you make cigarettes and all that. You take your cigarettes, and that's a very specific part of the game. That was inspired because he would always go on those coffee breaks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, he would always say, I gotta go outside to smoke. He's got it, actually.
He's always smoking? He quit?
He quit, yeah, he told me he quit, and I'm like, come on, man. How are you gonna continue the stories? You built a game out of that habit. But yeah, that's the part of it.
I guess if you work in a hospital long enough, they're gonna say, hey, that's not good for your health. The doctor's gonna be
I know, no, I think, and, you know, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. I think his job was kind of making him, you know, I'm not gonna say miserable, but it's, you know, it's what it is. The hours are stupid, and you know, the shifts sometimes are hard, and he spent all that, you know, he spent all that energy that he had to make a game that he loved making games, and that's how, you know, Cat Lady came to exist. It's a wonderful game.
Yeah, that's cool. I do like that. I mean, I do like those kind of games where it's like, you know, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be one guy doing, or one girl doing everything on the game, but a lot of times, you know, it is kind of, as an indie developer, you know, you have the, I think you said it in a podcast I listened to some, that, you know, there's a freedom that you have as a indie dev to do a lot of things and, like, you know, really, you know, express yourself in a way that's basically, it's impossible in any kind of larger company setting, where, you know, like I've worked for some larger game companies, and, you know, a lot of time, as I mentioned, I said this before, is that basically you're sitting around, they tell you, okay, we need this soccer ball to move, you know, like this, we need a character, you know, we need like some, you know, cheerleader's face to look like this, and you know, you don't care anything, you have no like creative, emotional connection to the work that you're doing. It might be, oh, I need you to code the gun to shoot, you know, like this, or the surface, you know, the reflections on the water need to look like this, make that happen, and you don't have context. A lot of the time you don't really know exactly, you know, you don't really care about what it is that you're doing, but hey, it's paying me, you know, 20 or 30 or whatever dollars an hour, so whatever, but that can actually, I feel like sometimes that can actually kill some of your creativity when you're in that position, as opposed to an indie game where you're like, you know, I mean, apart from the crunch and the mental health problems when you're working, you know, 100 hours a week, that can also kill you physically and mentally. But you know, but then the you know, an indie game, you know, you can make your work hours and you can choose, like, you know, what do I really care about? Like, you know, I want to tell a story that's about, you know, the what it's like being in a, not necessarily what it's like, but inspired by being a nurse in a caring position, or, you know, something that's inspired by, well, for Neophyte, obviously, I was a social worker dealing with, you know, the at-risk kids and, you know, kids who are migrants, homeless, refugees. Some of them are actually refugees. Some of them were, you know, just minority or poor individuals. And so, like, that experience translates directly into the game. Whereas if I tried to go, hey, EA Games, you want to make this game called Neophyte that's like taking homeless robots, and mostly it's about the struggles and anti-mega corporate capitalism, and basically burns a lot of, it's really critical of really rich and really big corporations, and they'd be like, what the hell, get out of here, what are you talking about, you know? They probably just wouldn't answer the emails, probably what happened. So, but whereas indie game, you can be like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Or Undertale, like, yeah, I'm gonna make a game that, you know, maybe it doesn't look as good as, you know, the latest, you know, big major, you know, Final Fantasy, but you know, it's got a lot of things that, you know, a big JRPG doesn't have either. You know, it has a lot of, you know, it can really play with the genre, play with expectations in a ways that, you know, it's impossible to do at a big level. So anyway, that's my take on why we should have more indie games in the world, and you should, like, immediately go out and buy all of James Spanos' games that he worked on, because they're all. But yeah. So anyways, let's see. Well, let's talk a little bit about. I mean, I know you said you're doing a lot of composition and composing. I just listened to what is it? I just listened to your Bandcamp album. I think it's Miami. What is it?
Source of Miami. Yes.
Oh, Source of Miami. So for those of you who don't know, can you explain? I don't know if I know exactly what is a synth. What defines synthwave specifically?
Well, it's basically making 80s styled music in 2018. It's a genre that came up, you know, with Drive the movie. So, well, a bit before that, but it really became popular around when Drive was out. When Drive was out, and you know, the music from Hotline Miami is actually also what also made it more. It contains a lot of synthwave, also a lot of artists actually, and it's basically 80s styled music done in 2018. That's what it is. Like, if you think about 80s songs that you think you might have listened, and then you listen to a synthwave song, you'll be like, wasn't it having a... You're gonna think that this was out, you know, back then, but it's like recent. So
right. Yeah.
So that's what genre is.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read real quick one of the reviews, because I was listening. I mean, I did like it, because I didn't really know what it was, and then I heard some of it, and I was like, yeah, like, I mean, this you know, I listened to a good amount of it. Like, there's a lot of it out there. But this is one review. I thought I was dreaming when I heard this. So much heart and so much emotion in this music. With this incomprehensibly beautiful album, the 80s are back to remind us of an era to be remembered and loved for all eternity. This is what would happen if John Hammer and Tim Truman combined forces with Don Del Piero and Time Cop 1983. It's everything a nostalgic retro lover could ever ask for. Thank you, Demi K, for allowing me to know this, and James Spanos has my respect and my gratitude. So anyway, that's, like, you know, one of the comments. So that's pretty cool. At least some people are listening and buying the album, because, like, I am a big, I mean, I grew up in the 1980s too, so, you know, this is like the music that was, you know, I still remember my mom vacuuming and me listening and watching VH1 and not knowing what the hell was going on, but, like, just imbibing, you know, kind of just, like, by osmosis, just, like, absorbing the music and, like, the Nintendo soundtracks and you know, just the stuff that was on the radio. It's like very nostalgic, you know. I think that's something that comes out in Neef. There's a lot of references to the 80s, and so, but yeah, I mean, we could talk a little bit about, like, you know, how you got into composition, like, what do you try to go for, or what is your favorite, you know, how has that been for you?
I've been trying to get into composing for the past couple of years. When a little before Until I Have You, I was actually working on, getting into composing, um, and I tried, I was trying at the time to get into composing, and then I got very more comfortable into it. I've always been wanting to composing because I was playing the guitar and I was coming up with songs, and I was listening to a song and I was thinking of a different way of the song to go, and then I actually took it more seriously a year before Until I Have You, and I started reading up on music theory, and I used to take music classes when I was younger. I used to play the violin.
Oh, yeah, you play
I,
violin.
I used to.
Oh.
I don't remember now anymore, but I used to. And I've been playing the guitar for like a decade or more than that. So and when I was working on Until I Have You, I'm like, I'm actually gonna do the music. That was the plan.
Oh.
So I'm like, I'm gonna do the music for Until I Have You. So I did, and I'm glad. Actually, out of all the things that people have said about Until I Have You, nobody has ever said the music was not good.
Yeah, the music is great. Yeah.
Like, they've said that the gameplay is very harsh or very stupid, or I don't like this, I don't like that, or I find this story not interesting, or but two things, if someone says, like, and I'm sure of that, but if someone says that the music is good, I'll just stop reading the review and I'll be like, oh, okay. And I'm not saying that in an arrogant way. It's just like, I know that it's good. And I spent a lot of effort into it, and I'm glad that it came out the way it came out.
Yeah, no, that's one thing that I definitely remembered, the soundtrack. I kind of wish that I sucked more at the game. Unfortunately, I played so much Mega Man, like I've beat so many Nintendo Mega Mans. I'm too good at platform games, so I wish I could have taken longer to beat Until I Have You levels, so I could have heard the whole track.
I know.
So I gotta have to go back and just keep dying, or I just gonna stand there and not move for a long period of time and then listen to the soundtrack next time. Yeah, because it was really, I did like that a lot. I mean, I'm also like, I've been playing music forever. I mean, actually, I've been doing music longer than gaming or art or programming, any of that kind of stuff.
For New Food, right? Or,
yeah. So yeah, New Food, the soundtrack. Initially I was like, man, I had like 2 years because I was working kind of like similar to Rem. I was working full time and also had a family, and we were like in a bad financial spot. And I was like, I got to get this game out because I'm gonna run out of money. We're gonna be homeless, and that was actually a thing that happened for a little while. I was like, man, I gotta get this done. I'm gonna just pay someone to do this music because I don't have time for this. I gotta get the show on the road and start selling and making money. And so, I had this friend who was gonna help me out with it, and I gave him some. I said, hey, yeah, just kind of make it kind of like it's like Cyberpunk and some Blade Runner and some, I didn't really give him good direction, and he gave me some new tracks. My friend Scott Schmigio, he kind of does more like Nine Inch Nails industrial kind of stuff, and it was cool stuff, but it didn't really fit the scenes the way that I wanted it to, and so I just like, you know what, shit, I'm gonna just do the whole soundtrack myself, and I wrote like 46 tracks. It's like 2.5 hours of music. It was like it took me like literally like 4 months to do the soundtrack.
I know, and
so I was
I can relate to that. So
yeah, but yeah, it's and like, but I mean, I will say, like, I am a huge fan of the music. Even in Undertale, as I understand, the guy who made it was a composer, and I really, I don't want to brag about what the music's good or not, and everybody has their own. But this is something that a lot of people have said. The least negative comments that if they want to leave one is about the music. Actually, I haven't really heard anything other than like this particular track sounds like, well, there's Vangelis obviously as inspiration, and
yeah.
There's some of that, yeah.
There's a lot of Dune and early 80s sci-fi in your work. I can that's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, definitely, like, definitely the well, I mean, there's like literally there's the 14.4 dial-up modem sound if you were alive and you had you know, a Windows 95 or one of those ancient Linux or Apple, you know, machines, you had to actually sit there and wait for your modems. You had to actually phone call into the internet back in the day for your young whippersnappers listening to this. And so that sound, I don't know, I like that sound. And like, there's actually tracks that I have made that were just modem and like you know, the dial tone phone.
Oh, I grew up to that. The modem like, makes no sound anymore, and I'm like, the days when I would wake up the whole neighborhood when the modem would reset.
Yeah, that's yeah, I don't know. It's just I wanted to set that kind of tone because there's a lot of, you know, it's there's a lot of callbacks. There's a lot of, you know, sometimes, you know, it's kind of almost not quite Tarantino-esque, but it has a lot of references to a lot of, you know, 80s and 90s games and film, and you know, because, well, one thing was like, I was like, if the game is, if it's too serious, it's like if it's 100% like really serious, as I mentioned, the kind of situations and the people and the characters' experiences are, you know, they're cut. Some of them are pretty gut wrenching, and it's hard to play. So I felt like it needs to have some amount of, you know, comic, you know, some amount of.
It really does. Every game does that. You know, until I have, it doesn't have that, and that's why it was very difficult to write for that. I scraped a lot of dialogue, and I've rewritten a lot of it, and during it, you know, the development and a bit after, because, you know, when the game is too serious, it's harder for it to sink in. And, you know, when it's always serious, like, the mistakes are more obvious, and the tone kind of annoys at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, I can't think, like, I guess the White Jedi, well, I guess some of the White Jedi games are pretty serious, but although there's a lot of humor. There's a lot of humor.
There's a lot of humor. That's why they work, and that's why, you know, White Jedi games work when they're dramatic, because they're always like kind of quirky with, you know, Joey and Rosa, and you know, they have like quips between them where Joey is like making fun of this, or like he's being, you know, a jerk.
Yeah.
And that's why when something happens between them, you know, it affects emotionally, because, you know, they you know, the players grow fond of you know, Joey and Rosa.
Yeah, and like even
in the same way, you know, Crispin is like being, you know, a snarky robot all the time, and then you know, and that's how it works, because, you know, he's the comic relief, but that doesn't mean you don't care for him.
Yeah, like, you know, Joey, is it the voice actor for Joey the same as Crispin? Or is it a different guy?
Yes, no, that's exactly the same. Yeah,
right.
He's the one, and that's the thing. And, you know, when we were casting, you know, Dave goes like, do you think Mark and Victor are gonna be okay with this? Because, you know, Joey is a floating ghost, and Crispin is a floating ghost, and that's, you know, people are gonna recognize the voice. And I said, I would be more worried about me, because you have to do this character justice. And he just puts a, you know, a frowny face on, because we were talking in chat, and I really found his voice to be perfect, and he really did a fantastic Crispin, and he's wonderful. He did a really great job, and I'm very happy that we got him in.
Yeah, I'm glad that that's one thing. Some people, they don't like, you know, I don't know, it's really funny, right? It's kind of that same thing of games being like beaches, where everybody's there for something different, right? And some people are gonna be like, I don't like the, you know, the silly parts and the humor parts, but I really like the serious parts. And when it, or you know, I don't like all this talking, but I like the world building, and I like the science fiction, and you know, but, you know, in the end, it's like you can't really please everybody, right? You have to kind of just have to kind of do it, and, you know, people are gonna like whatever they like, or don't like whatever they don't like. So I mean, yeah. So Yeah, like Primordia, I think all the White Jedi games kind of definitely, it's a great balance there, you know, where it's not, you're not so, it's not so downer that you just, feel like you want to kill yourself, and it's not so silly that it's just like a comedy game. Like some point-and-click adventures can be kind of, super silly. I don't know. I can't really name it. I don't want to name any in particular because I already got in trouble. We can finish up soon, but on the Cyberpunk. So you said your favorite movie was Blade Runner, obviously, and then Ghost in the Perfect Blue, I think, was your second.
Yes.
Was it
in Brazil?
Oh, I'm sorry, Brazil. Yeah, Brazil. Did you want to? What about like your favorite Cyberpunk? I don't know, book or game, whichever one.
I would say, game. I would probably say, Gemini Rue. I really like the anime aesthetic that it brings to the whole thing. Yeah, definitely Gemini Rue. I really like the original name of the project, which was Boryokuden Rue.
Oh, was it? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I love that name so much, but they changed it because, they've said, PR-wise it would be really difficult to keep it to Boryokuden. Boryokuden actually means Yakuza.
Oh, does it?
Yes, that was the original name of the project. I really like it, and game-wise, and I think, well, book, I'm gonna be the typical cyberpunk thing. I'm gonna go with this awful book called Neuromancer. Yeah, I mean, what's not to like about it? I mean, it's fantastic, honestly. I mean, the fact that the way that William Gibson just writes in that book is phenomenal. He just types 2 sentences and he builds the entire city with 2 sentences in front of your eyes. In your head, that is. Yeah, it's a wonderful book, and obviously a cyberpunk must. I would say, Akira would be also a very cyberpunk-ish movie. I really like Akira. It's not exactly cyberpunk, but it draws a lot from it.
Yeah, I would count it.
I would also in terms of aesthetic, I would say Drive is also very cyberpunk-ish. And when I was thinking, about when I saw Drive, I'm like, if they ever make a Blade Runner sequel, they have to put Ryan Gosling in it. And then they put Ryan Gosling in it, and I'm like, okay, I can die a peaceful man now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And I'm very glad that it's actually a very worthy sequel of the movie.
Yeah, Blade Runner sequel. I was I've said this before. I was really super. I saw one of the trailers, I think, for Blade Runner 2049. I feel like it was in March. And I was like, oh my god, it was just it was just Harrison Ford, explosion, no, it's just so fast. It looked like the pacing was gonna be like Transformers on crack. I was like, what the hell is going on with Blade Runner? They're gonna ruin it. And I'm like, this is gonna, it's gonna be it's gonna be like they just killed the, my childhood or something, or my 12 and teenhood by making a horrible sequel. And I was like, but finally it came out. Yeah.
I was afraid for that too. And I'm like, I really hope they keep the pace and the atmosphere of the first one. It was also gut-wrenching in parts of it, the new movie, which is very unlike the first one. But I really liked it. I really think it's great. Yeah,
definitely. I like the concept of in the prequels, as I mentioned, somebody who had seen it hadn't seen not the prequels, the little short films that lead up to the film, the actual Blade Runner 2049, and they talk about the Wallace character, portrayed by Jared Leto. He's blind. He's the blind Terrell successor, and how he's he's described as like the guy who actually saved humanity
from extinction.
From extinction by because there was no plants, there was no the food, the farm. As in the backstory of Blade Runner, the ecology and life on Earth is basically going extinct. That's why it's the android's dream of electric sheep, is because there are no sheep left. You have to have android sheep, and so in Blade Runner 2049, it's like food's going extinct, and there's no food left on the planet, and this guy Wallace invents this way to some technology that creates like synthetic food, and he basically saves humanity from extinction, and then he's the one, but he also says, I want to reopen replicants. So it's just kind of like it is gray in that sense. It's not so one-sided. He appears more like just evil mustache twirling guy in the movie, but he actually saved humanity, but he's also the guy who is running the big mega corporation, and is making these replicants, obviously, that are being maltreated. And so I thought that was interesting. As you mentioned, I think we mentioned off the podcast, the child, the fact that the humans, replicants having children that's probably the weakest link in it, but
that's the great part about a good movie, is that when the characters are written well and they're believable, you can fall for anything. If something is not well written and not believable, and the characters are not relatable or believable, then you just question everything. I mean, you can fall for the fact that there's a guy in Gotham City being so rich that he can be Batman.
Yeah.
if it's well done, and then you can be like, this never happens if it's not well done. So it really depends on how well it's done, and I think it's really well done.
Yeah, Blade Runner definitely is like that's the Ridley Scott like I think that like really differentiates him, and like why Blade Runner has lasted is that the like, as you mentioned, like the pacing and the visual storytelling, like the ability to kind of convey I guess the similarity between William Gibson and Ridley Scott, coincidentally, within the same year, I think Blade Runner and Neuromancer came out like 2 months later. But the similarity is that, and with the way William Gibson, the sky above the port was the color of television tuned to a dead channel, builds almost the whole world, so much of the world, the economy, the people, the environment, everything. Yeah, he talks about like society, politics, beauty, fashion, love, everything simultaneously. Ridley Scott conveys the future, the world, like the culture, the fact that the mishmash
the
of
multicultural part of Los Angeles. Yes.
Yeah.
In the same way.
Yeah, in one shot, and it's just like they're like I think the poetry of that, like, or the ability to like condense all the meaning into images, and then just let the images kind of like let them breathe and let them let them resonate in your mind while you're watching it. That's really that's what elevates Blade Runner and above everything else, because everyone, I mean, I don't want to say everybody else, but I mean a lot of other films just try to copy, have a flying car, have a neon city, just try to copy that shot, but they're kind of like, they're missing, like, it's like Bruce Lee would say, don't focus on the, it's like you're looking at a finger that's pointing away to the moon, right? You're missing all the heavenly glory, so it's...
They don't have the substance. They're missing the point behind what Blade Runner is trying to achieve.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, we could. Yeah, but definitely, like, it's a movie. If you haven't seen Blade Runner yet, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast. Like, I talk about it every time. You should probably go and buy it, the Blu-ray, or I don't know what it's on now. What is your favorite cut of Blade Runner? The original, the theatrical,
the full cut. The full cut, the one that includes everything, obviously. More Blade Runner equals best Blade Runner, hands down.
Is Rick Deckard a replicant? What do you think?
I think, well, in the book it goes different ways, but I think they're playing around that a lot, and I think if they ever, I don't think they will. make a new Blade Runner movie that features Deckard. Maybe they make like a reboot, like, you know, the earlier years. I think he is, but I like the fact that they're playing around that in the same way that they played around, you know, Ryan Gosling being the Messiah thing.
Oh yeah. That was a big moment.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite moments, right? When he's like, "Oh, I must be the chosen one," because like every protagonist of every big movie
Yes.
is the savior, right? And that's
That's what the movie's playing around.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if there was a moment that was kind of like, you know, like Blade Runner's moment was, you know, or one of the big moments was, you know, the Tears in Rain speech, as we talk about. It's almost environmental poetry now because it's really raining hard. That's why all that static is in the background. But Tears,
Yeah,
just like on the
okay.
just like on the set of Blade Runner, where I think Rutger Hauer had to sit in the rain for like 20 hours reshooting that one scene, and it came to him, all these moments will be lost in time, like Tears in Rain, and that scene, which is often regarded as like one of the greatest scenes in all of cinematic history, is
Yeah.
you know, and I think what makes it great is it flips. Yeah, again, it's flipping that whole expectation of Rick Deckard is his Harrison Ford. He's the big star. He's the good guy, right? He's the fighting the bad guy, the criminals, or the. And it's at the end. It's like, you know, no, it's the cop who's actually, you know, these are just people. They're just trying to live. They're just trying to get more life. And now he's not. He actually saves Rick Deckard, and now he has to watch Roy die of old age, as I think somebody has said. And so like in that moment it flips. The whole thrust of the movie is like reversed, and I think that's what makes it so powerful. Right? It flips
And
everything.
the thing is, on a second viewing, you realize that, you know, Roy Batty has been, you know, even though he's done lots of killing, his main thing is life. He values life over anything. That's why he says, you know, it's a weird sentiment to live in fear.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, he realizes he's gonna expire, die, you know, and he reminisces his, he saves Deckard, and, you know, he becomes closer to him because he's the last person he'll ever see, and, you know, to him Deckard is like the last, person that can understand him, and he expects some kind of sympathy, and Deckard's just like sitting there like a fool, having no idea what is, you know, just happening and why is he saved. And he reminisces of, you know, his life, and he realizes that, you know, his life is running out, and, you know, that's why he made the line. You know, the line wasn't that initially, but Roderick the Howard did, and one of the best ad libs, if not the best.
Yeah. I watched the interview with him. He's talking about how he came up with that, and you know, we wrote a bunch of the stuff before that. Because there's a long operatic, he called it like techno opera, that was like paragraphs of speech that Roy was supposed to make. You know, the sea beams. I watched Sea Beams Glitter in the Dark. That's there's a reference to that in the feud. You know, I watched the attack ships off the shoulder of Orion. I watched Sea Beams Glitter in the Dark. Like that. That originally was this really long, like you know, a 2-minute speech or something. But that, you know, again, it's like if you have a great creator, a great artist, letting them actually do their creative art, whether that's, you know, the writer, the filmmaker, you know, or an actor like Rutger Hauer, they really get the character, you know, at like almost like a cellular level. They know who that character is. They can, you know, a lot of times they can create something that you would, even as the writer or the director who's supposed to know this thing back to front, might have never even thought of. And like that's a perfect example of how he just, no, this is not what this Roy is thinking. This is not what Roy is about to die. He's not going to be pontificating, you know, he's not serenading he's not getting his dissertation now. He's about to expire. So that's like a great example of that, which is, you know, another reason why, you know, I think, like, you know, it's really great that, when if you let the creative people do what what they're most passionate about, then they can get to that level. You know, I feel like that's Blade Runner was a rare case where you have a very large project where there was a lot of you know, there were a lot of risks there. It obviously didn't financially, it didn't make the money back that they wanted it to make back. It was a flop in its time. Financially, so you know, Ridley Scott and the people on board had to really, you know, and the same thing with the sequel. They took a lot of risks, you know, to make that film, not make it just an action-packed, you know, I think it was like some Smurf movie outsold it. I forget what it was. The Emoji Movie, something. I forget what it was. Is there any other games? The games you're working on right now are the one of the Wormwood Studio unannounced projects, correct? And you're currently working. Are you working on anything else game-wise?
I'm working on a personal project, but it's a cyberpunk of sorts, dystopian thing, of course. But nothing is final yet. On that, it's very concepty at the moment, but we're working on getting something out. So I don't have much to say because the state of the project is such.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, James Spanos, who is the creator of Until I Have You, is the game that he completely made basically by himself, and it's a great cyberpunk action platformer. I have played it myself, and I am a big fan of platformer. Neophyte, a fun fact, Neophyte was originally going to be a Mega Man Cross with Fallout platformer where you just run around shooting mutant rats. That was the original plan for it. It actually looked a lot like Until I Have You, and I changed later. But so I'm a big fan of platformers, and it is great. It's like a Mega Man. I think of it like I think Strider was the game that's most similar to, but it has that kind of 80s platformer action, but it's also not incredibly unforgiving. So like if you like platformers, if you like Cyberpunk, check it out. It's available on Steam, and
Humble Bundle Store.
Oh, Humble Store, and yeah, and he's James has also worked on Primordia, Cat Lady, Downfall, and currently working on Wormwood Studios project. So I'm gonna be talking to Mark one of these days, and we'll try to get. I know you don't want to say too much because I know he's kind of controlling.
Yeah, but we're not gonna be silent about it. You know, when word is out, we're gonna. I just don't know, you know, how much of it he wants out. That's why I'm not saying much. It's not like I'm being an asshole.
Oh no, totally, yeah.
But we want to do a PR push and about it, and you know, get it out. It's a really interesting project, at least it is to me, and yep, that's all I can say.
Yeah, I've seen some of it, and I was really excited by it. Check out James is especially if you're into synthwave, retrowave, 80s style music. Check out Shores of Miami on Bandcamp, or I think James has his own Bandcamp site where you can listen to his music. Yeah, it's got some great tracks there. Until I Have You soundtrack is up on Bandcamp as well. And I'm also Neophyte or Silver Spook. I don't know what the hell's my name. I forget. Neophyte has a. I don't know what my name is. I'm just some guy with this cyberpunk shades all the time in the stream. But soundtrack. Yeah, the Neophyte soundtrack is available also on Bandcamp, and I have some music. It's Silver Spook Bandcamp. You go over Silver Spook and Bandcamp, and you can find all of my stuff as well. If you like, well, it's cyberpunk themed music, a lot of electronic and variations of styles. But anyways, yeah, so yeah, that's really cool to talk to somebody who's actually a composer, because that's one of my music was one of my first loves. So that's really cool. Anyway, so James, where can we find you? Anything else you want to say? And where can we find you if you want to get in contact?
You can find me on Twitter. It's at dual names, and I'm always there. So you can follow me, and I will follow you back, and you can send me a message, or you can go to at WWS Games, which is Worm Studios Twitter, and you can find us on Facebook by searching Wormwood Studios, and because we all manage that. So you can do that, and you can find us there. And we're always happy to hear, you know, thoughts, and you can see news, and we always post whatever we're working on.
Yeah, definitely. I've checked out the site, and they like Let's Players and fan art. I can see that Mark's 4-year-old daughter did some fan art. So very nice. Very, you know, there's a lot of. It's very nice to see that. I mean, it's really great when you see fans who are like so in love with something they're gonna make some art about it. That's really cool, right?
That's amazing. That's always good. You know.
Yeah.
And they have like those, you know, very amateuristic takes on it. I'm not saying that's bad, you know, but it's really nice to see. Like, you could see the worst, you know, picture drawn of all time, and you'll be just so happy and excited about it. So it doesn't matter, like, you know, when you wanna, you know, whenever anyone draws something you have made, it makes you proud. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. You know, that's entirely relevant to the thing, to the whole thing. Just makes you happy.
Yeah. So anyway, so Silver Spook. Just Google Silver Spook. Everybody knows Twitter at Silver Spook Games, and Facebook Silver Spook Games, and yeah, everybody. Neophyte is the game that's out, and I'm currently working on Neophyte 2 right now, and as well as another Deus Ex 1 like game.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, you seen that?
Yeah, that looks really interesting. The one with the red-headed, right?
The redheaded?
The redheaded protagonist. Or is that Neophyte 2?
Oh, the redheaded protagonist. Oh, that's Dismaton is the one with the one with green hair? Oh.
Oh, green hair. Why do I remember red?
It's the one where it looks like a post-apocalyptic. The city's like crumbling, and there's a robot that's malfunctioning.
Yeah, that one. That's the. Why did I think her? I have like. I'm pretty sure her hair is red, but I think maybe her cape is red, and I'm mixing the two for some reason in my head.
The sky is definitely red.
The sky is definitely red, and I remember there's a lot of heat vision on it.
Yeah, infrared modes. Yeah. Yeah. So current. Oh, go ahead.
Really good.
Yeah. So Dismaton is the game. That's another one of the games that I'm actually working on 2 point and click. So Neophyte 2 and also Dismaton is the one we're just talking about. And those are currently in production. Still working on it basically by myself. And if I make enough money from Neophyte, I can afford to pay somebody to help me. I might do that. But right now, I'm just making enough that I can I have I could pay for my car payments and basic stuff, but not rich enough to start like a Wadjet eye-size studio yet. But anyway, so yeah, Dismaton, Neophyte, and another unannounced game that I'm working on I'm working on with a bigger group, and you can find all this stuff at Silver Spook. And you can also, these podcasts are currently up on the Adventure Game Studio forum, podcasts in audio format for those who just want that. And I'm trying to make a big playlist of all the podcasts so you can check it out because people keep requesting that. So look out for that on the YouTube channel and on the AGS site. Yeah, anyways, but yeah, so it's been really great to have you on.
It's really been great talking to you.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Like, I'm glad to have finally a super Cyberpunk fan. I think you know the most Cyberpunk of anybody I've ever talked to on this podcast. You out Cyberpunked me a little bit on some of these things. So congratulations, sir.
It's a wonderful genre, and always happy to talk to someone about it.
Awesome. So, yeah, but yeah, do you have any? Yeah, I'm really bad at coming up with the sign up ways to say goodbye on the podcast. Can you think of something really good? What's a Cyberpunk way to?
I think the best one would be out of the Snatcher by Hideo Kojima before he went to Metal Gear Solid. In the intro it says this is dedicated to all the Cyberpunk fans, to all the Cyberpunk rebels. That's what it says, and I think that's a good way out, I guess.
All right, so to all the Cyberpunk rebels, this is Christian Miller. Dedicated to all the Cyberpunk rebels and all the Hideo Kojima fans.